Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say...
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin now.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
Hello and welcome to Frankie Sense and More. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me each and every week. It really is much appreciated. Today we have a great show for you. I have the most fantastic author, Susan Gregory. She's joining us. She's the author of The Daniel Fast. I want to introduce you to her shortly. And we have Bella Portaro, who is the new ambassador for good for the Good Radio Network. I'm excited about that. And also joining me today as co-host in the co-pilot seat is Sandra Beck. We love having her with us. She's one of the most famous hosts on TogiNet Radio. So welcome to her too. I want to take a moment to wish my son Alex a safe and happy trip. He took off for Indonesia this morning with his girlfriend Sarah. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But as a mom, it's scary, so stay safe. I'm praying for you guys. And, mom duty called here, so I just had to say that. Even when your kids are older, they're always still your kids. This is, if it's your first time joining me on Frankie Sense and More, it is more than a variety show. It's also a socially conscious humanitarian show that advocates for the United Nations Global Goals Initiative, which, if you don't know, has 17 distinct goals and a plan, that's right, a plan to end poverty, halt climate change, and fight injustice and inequality within the next 15 years. And the best part is 193 governments all agreed to it. That's amazing. And you can find out more about it at www.globalgoals.org. Sandra, you know the difference between a goal and a daydream?
God, the difference between a goal and a daydream. Mine are kind of the same. Is there a difference?
The difference is that a goal has a hard deadline and a dream is just a wish. And so, you might wish that everybody has food. We wish that we could end AIDS. Well, the good news is that United Global Goals Initiative, they do have a hard deadline. And by 2030, here are some of the most amazing transformations that are going to take place under today's global goal, which is number 3, and that's health and wellness, which I thought was kind of appropriate. By 2030, they're going to reduce global maternal mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 live births, which is absolutely amazing. By 2030, they're going to end epidemics of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and neglected tropical diseases, and combat hepatitis, waterborne diseases, and other communicable diseases. By 2030, they are going to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services, including for family planning, information and education, and the integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. And I think my favorite, achieve universal health coverage, including financial risk protection, access to quality essential healthcare services, and access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for everybody around the world. Woohoo! How's that for a hard and fast goal? I think that's absolutely amazing. Also, today we are going, I am sorry, excuse me, I've just lost my thought. I don't know what's going on with me. You know what? I have to give a shout out to Gina, because I was expecting Gina Woods to be my co-host today. And Gina took a vitamin and had an allergic reaction. And she's the founder of Owie Bow Wowie, which is one of the projects that the Good Radio Network has that we support. And I've got my little Owie Bow Wowie sitting next to me. He's my dog Jay. I call him he's a DJ, but he's my dog Jay, and he's sitting here on my shoulder, so it's kind of fun. Susan Gregory. Yes, let's talk to Susan. As I already said, she is the author of The Daniel Fast. She is a regular correspondent. She regularly corresponds with thousands of men and women who are seeking God through spiritual discipline of prayer and fasting. And since its launch in 2007, she has received nearly 14 million visits to her website, which is www.daniel-fast.com. Susan has corresponded with tens of thousands of people throughout the world, which is incredible. She has a passion to help the followers of Jesus Christ from all cultures integrate their faith into every every part of their lives. She also has written a few other books, Out of the Rat Race and The Daniel Cure. She is known in 35 countries, and she's a mother and a grandmother. Welcome, Susan.
Well, I'm so glad to be here, Frankie, and I loved your introduction because I've worked in many different countries on helping people improve their lives. I've spent many years doing that. I was in Ethiopia a number of years ago and ended up adopting a child from Ethiopia.
Wonderful!
And so my heart really beats to the whole international scene and really helping people in ways that are sustainable, just like what you talked about in your intro. So this is a good thing, a good match.
Oh, wonderful. Susan, you were a successful realtor when the economy took a tank, and you found yourself searching for another way to make a living. You have been a Christian since 1973, and as we said, in December 2007, you got a call from God to write about the Daniel fast. Now, you said that you had done the Daniel fast for many years, but I have to say I have never heard of it. Where did it come from, and how did you find it?
Well, the Daniel fast has, I don't know that there's a pinpointed origin of it. I've tried to find that. The way I first found out about it was by a gentleman came in. I was working for an organization. It was a Monday morning. A man came into the office, and he was so excited because of this experience he'd had, which he had been on a 3-day fast. And we talked about it, and he pointed me to a book by Arthur Wallace called God's Chosen Fast. In that book, there's a series of several different kinds of fasts, and one of them was the Daniel fast. And so that's an extended period of fasting. It's called a partial fast, where some foods are eaten, others are restricted. Most people do it for 21 days. And so I had done some water-only fast. The longest was about 9 days at that time. And I wanted to get into a deeper experience, and so I started using the Daniel fast.
Now, the Daniel fast is because of Daniel in the Bible, right? In those, I don't know, there was like a time that foods were declared unclean by God. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, the Daniel fast is based on the fasting experiences of the Old Testament prophet Daniel, and it comes from two of the experiences that he had primarily. One is in Daniel 1, and that's when Judah was under captivity in Babylon, and Daniel, he was the one that was in the fiery furnace, and then or in the lion's den, and then his friends were the ones that were in the fiery furnace, and they had been brought into Babylon to be trained as leaders. Babylon was doing huge expansion at that time, and they needed more people to help in the governing systems. And so and Daniel was being trained to do that. And so he was offered the king's food. Well, this had been offered to Babylonian gods. And so Daniel said, I don't want to defile my body. So give us only pulse to eat, which is food grown from seed, and water to drink. And so that's how some of the guidelines for the Daniel fast have been formed. So it's only food grown from seed. So it's fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy oils, and then the only beverage is water. Then later in Daniel 10, Daniel had been in the country for 70 years, and he was seeking God. He said, it's like, why, really wondering, when are we going to be free? And so at that time, he went on a 21-day fast where no wine, no meat, no precious foods, no breads crossed his lips. And he did that for 21 days. During that time, had an amazing experience with God. And so that's where we have the bulk of the guidelines for the Daniel fast. They come from those two passages of Scripture. We're not trying to eat like Daniel ate. These are just the guidelines. And the Daniel fast is a method of fasting. And like I say, it's a partial fast where some foods are eaten and others are restricted.
And what happens after the 21 days?
Well, the thing that happens, Frankie, is it's so powerful because when you enter into an experience like this, it's like you step into a new realm in a way. For instance, I like to explain it. Like when you go on a vacation, you know that you're, or like you mentioned, your son is off. He's off on a new experience. Is in a different mindset right now than what he was in yesterday. The same thing happens when you enter into a fast. Is you enter into a different experience. You're more focused on God. You have a purpose for your fast, and so. And during this time, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself, about God, and you get input about different situations that are going on in your life. So after the fast, you want to take those good things that you've learned and then use them in your life. So it's not like you leave it all behind. You want to use those good things you've learned to make your life better.
So when people start the fast, some people are going to do it because they do want to lose weight, but really it's a spiritual fast. You want to help people get closer to God. So as they go each day in the fast, is there scripture that you want them to read each day that kind of goes with their first day experience or second day experience? Does it go like that maybe? Or
well, somewhat. I really encourage people to read through the book of Daniel because that's an amazing book. And Daniel was his character, particularly in a time when he was a foreigner under captivity and still lived out his faith. So, but in all of my books, I always include a 21-day devotional. And that helps people draw deeper into their spiritual experience and again, learn more things about who they are, God, and the purpose for which they're fasting.
And 21 days is actually the number that it takes to form a new habit. So that's wonderful.
That's
actually
right.
Very significant.
It is. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? When you think of how that how that all came about.
Wow. Well, we just have about a minute to go before we're going to take a break. Bella, did you have any questions that you'd like to ask Susan?
No, I've not heard of the Daniel fast, or any of it. Then that just, I don't know, it kind of takes me back. But I would really like to look into it and learn more. I think it's an interesting topic, all of the 21 days that are always talked about for physical activity and health. So I think that it's really interesting, and I would love to learn more. Do you ever have any seminars in person, or how do people join this?
Yeah, it's mainly, like Frankie mentioned early on, I started teaching about the Daniel fast. I'm going
to stop you. I'm sorry, I have to stop you. We're going to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to hear all about what you do.
Sounds great.
And how people can find out more. Stay tuned.
Getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Welcome to Geraldine Tegelove Live, the show that shares with you the secrets of redefining, reinventing, and rebuilding your life. Having pulled herself from the rubble of financial ruin and having gone on to create a highly successful career, Geraldine has become an expert in the art of transformation. She believes that it doesn't matter where you are right now, how overwhelmed you feel, or how impossible the task of turning your life around may seem. You can do it. Stay tuned as metaphysician, international best-selling author, and intuitive Geraldine Tegelove gives you the inner understanding and the outer practical how-to to create your amazing life. Gain a fresh perspective on how to redefine, reinvent, and rebuild your life. Join Geraldine Tegelove live every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
This is the TogiNet Radio Network, radio with a cutting edge.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
Well, the gang's all here, and hopefully you are too. Just before we went to break, Bella was asking Susan if she has events that where people can learn more about the Daniel Fast. And Susan, you were saying...
Well, most people, I do some public speaking, but frankly, what happens most often, the Daniel Fast is practiced by hundreds of thousands of Christians at the beginning of the year, and then also at other times of the year. But I probably started about 15 years ago. There was this movement where people started the new year with extended prayer and fasting, and of course the Daniel Fast. Because you are able to eat, you're able to continue your typical functions. You're able to do the responsibilities you have at home and at work, and so many people choose to use the Daniel Fast as their method of fasting. So what happens so often is they're at church on Sunday, and the pastor says, "Okay, we're all starting the Daniel Fast, tomorrow," and immediately people go to the internet, and because it's like, what am I going to do? And so, like on January 4th of this year, that's when most people began the Daniel Fast. Mm-hmm. And I had 82,000 hits to my website on that one day. And so that just gives you an idea of, and so consequently, because of that, most of my work is over the internet, and I do a lot of online teaching. A lot of work with people, sending people emails. I do YouTube, and it just shows, one thing too, is I started teaching about the Daniel Fast in 2007, and I immediately, I started getting all these questions, and so the more questions you receive, you learn about it. I did a lot of research, and so I've become the world expert about the Daniel Fast, and it just shows how God can use us in ways that we don't even expect. When I first got the message from him right about the Daniel Fast, I thought it was kind of like a one-time writing assignment, but he had a totally different intention for my life, and so I think there's a big lesson in that, is that if we all have special gifts and qualities and things that we do, and if we just go for them and just get deeper, we can have this amazing experience. So here I am today with I've sold hundreds of thousands of books. I've got nearly 15 million hits on my website. I'm talking to you on the radio, and that all started way back in December of 2007 with one little kind of a nudge right about the Daniel Fast.
Isn't that amazing? I read somewhere that if you research something for 15 minutes a day for 3 years, you become a world expert.
Yes, and my experience absolutely proves that out.
Huh. Now, we were talking offline, Sandra can't give up coffee and tea, and most people, you're finding that's probably the biggest deterrent to wanting to do the diet. And so in your book, you talk about how you need to set yourself up for success with giving up coffee and giving up caffeine by starting about 10 days before. Do you want to tell people what they can do?
Yeah. Caffeine, I'm a Seattle girl.
So you're a coffee girl.
We have a cultural responsibility to
I like that.
Lots of coffee.
Strong coffee too.
Strong coffee, and I love coffee. But coffee is a drug. Caffeine is a drug, and it does affect us. And so I encourage people to, before they begin the fast, that about a week or so that they start tapering off the caffeine, because the consequences of going cold turkey can really be bad. They can be excruciating headaches, leg cramps, incredible fatigue. And so preparing for the fast, and again, in the same way, if you're preparing for a vacation, you're preparing for an international trip, there are things that you do to get ready. And so it's one of the things that I really encourage people to do, to get ready. But it also, when you're preparing for something, you start getting excited about it. So when you have that first day of your fast, then you're really ready to enter into this new experience.
One of the ingredients, I was a little bit surprised about two things in the diet. Well, Daniel had said that you weren't supposed to eat anything that was pleasurable. So that's the sugar, the dessert component, correct?
Correct.
So, but dried fruit has so much sugar, like even more so than sugar, and calories. Not that you're counting calories necessarily on it, but it's very pleasurable. So why are you allowed to have that dried fruit?
Yeah, this is when there's a lot where you get into being, there's the fine lines, because and part of all the research I've done and because what is pleasurable to one person isn't necessarily pleasurable to the other. And so that's when we look back and look at what it says in Daniel 1, where it's only food grown from seed, and where okay, so let me give this is an example of the fine line. So you can eat it would be acceptable to eat a date.
Okay. Sure.
And that it's a sweeter fruit and food, and there is a lot of natural sugar.
Right.
So but it's it's a food grown from seed, but you're eating the date, not necessarily as a sweetener though. Now, if you take those dates and mash them up, or prepare them in a way that becomes a sweetener, and then you want to use the date sugar or the date honey in a food to sweeten it, then that would not be allowed, because what is the intention that you're using the food for? And again, this is when it gets into really fine lines, and one of the things that I tell people is, if you've got a question that's in one of these fine line areas, then go to God, pray about it. Say, what is, and let Him be your umpire. Let Him be the one that gives you the direction. But there are some fine lines. But then on the other hand, there are some pretty hard and fast rules. Agave nectar is not allowed, because what is the purpose for agave nectar? It's a sweetener. Same with stevia. Right. Good idea. Great for after the fast. But it's a natural herbal sweetener with no calories. It's a really great option, but it's still a sweetener, so it's not allowed during the fast.
So it's almost a vegan diet, kind of Whole30 in a way.
Yes, it's like a vegan. It's a vegan diet with more restrictions, because as a vegan you can have
dates and stuff as a sweetener.
Sure. Yeah, and you can have sugar. You can have, there's a lot of things that you can have on a vegan diet. So it's but it is like a vegan diet with more restrictions.
So when you come off, you might go paleo or something.
Yeah, and that's what my most recent book is about. What happens is when people are on the Daniel fast, so they enter into the experience for a spiritual reason, but meanwhile their body is experiencing a detox, and they become very healthy. Now might be some uncomfortable days to begin with, because you're going through some detox, and you can't have that hamburger, you can't have that Diet Coke, and believe me, there are so many people literally that are addicted to food, and that when your body is nourished. When your body is nourished, you stop having the cravings. There's so many people that are addicted to sugar. But when you stop having it, when you balance, when your body is able to operate in the way that it was intended, without these big sugar spikes and these drops and everything, the cravings go away. You get this increased energy. And so I would get messages from people like, I want to keep doing this forever. Well, you don't fast forever. Fasting is a short period of time that you have a highly focused purpose, but you can eat well forever. And so the Daniel Fast for Weight Loss, it's not a diet book. It's a book of helping people get in touch with what their body really is about. It's and there's a lot of different layers. I don't talk about calories. I don't talk about portion control in it. I do talk about entering into a lifestyle of health, using the Daniel Fast as that jump off point, and then choosing health for the rest of your life, choosing health as your lifestyle.
But but the purpose is to commune with God, to have kind of a more centered focus.
Yes, and even taking a spiritual approach to our body. When you look at particularly women, and I feel I have a great compassion for young people growing up today, and it's like, where do we get the picture of what the perfect body is like? You know,
Right.
we get that off runways, we get it off television shows, we get it off magazines, and then we look at our own body, and there is, for most of us, there's a big disparity. And so people start feeling bad about their bodies. Meanwhile, the truth is that our body, every single person has been created beautifully. Every single person has value. And so that's one of the things that I teach in the Daniel Fast for Weight Loss is to gain the truth about who you are, about how your body was created. And so that's part of the things that you can do during a Daniel Fast period of renewing your mind to the truth, as opposed to all of the cultural things that we are impacted with in our world today.
So the average person loses about 10 pounds, somewhere
That's
in there,
right.
when they do it?
Yeah, between 10 and 20 pounds. And a lot of that is because we're not putting a lot, sugar. People think of eating sugar like, they're sprinkling it on something, or they're eating, lots of different,
it's in everything.
Foods. It's in everything. So
and
when
you really have to be a label reader, don't you, on your diet? If you use canned stuff,
Yeah, and any kind of prepared foods. And people are absolutely shocked when they start reading labels and see how much sugar is in just about everything.
So you make a vegetable chili, just so people know, you make a vegetable chili. What are some of the dishes that you might make? We have a couple of minutes before our break here.
Yeah, so I make a vegetarian chili that I make all year round. I make like orange and onion salads. I make vegetable burgers that are made out of beans that are really, really good. You can take baked potatoes and drizzle them with olive oil, and then top them with steamed vegetables and maybe some heated up salsa or something. You can do really great things. And so in the book, I think in the Daniel Fast for Weight Loss, there's 90 recipes in it. The Daniel Fast book has even more. And it's also getting people to, realize that, boy, you can eat really healthy and be very satisfied with those good foods.
Are you a vegan after your fasting today? Are you vegan, or do you eat meat?
I would say I'm mostly vegan.
Okay.
Or I actually probably should say I'm mostly vegetarian, because I also enjoy cheese and some foods. But my diet and the way I eat has been dramatically changed since I've been using the Daniel Fast. And so I really enjoy these great natural foods.
We're off to a break. And so while we're on break, you think about the foods that you like to eat that are healthy. When we come back, we're going to talk to Bella.
After we pay the bills.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us, because we know that quilting changes everything.
You may have heard that a great big giant pumpkin has brought a ton of excitement to the Wisconsin Cedarburg Wine and Harvest Festival. This humongous pumpkin weighed in at over 2,000 pounds. That's over a ton. This Astrobogulus pumpkin is now the largest on record in North America. Astrobogulus is a word for the bizarre and interesting. Gene McMullen grew the colossal fruit in Streator, Illinois. Some of the big fall festivals will pay the winner of the biggest pumpkin contest up to $25,000. That's a lot of money for a fruit that's 90% water. Believe it or not, there's a word for the fear of turning into a pumpkin. It's called apocolosynposis.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my new app, Too Funny for Words.
And we're back, and thanks for sticking around because we're sure happy to have you here. I hope that you'll stick around. We're going to talk to Bella for a few minutes, and then, we'll all have a free-for-all here. Bella wrote me a beautiful email the other day, and she said that she had heard about the Good Radio, and she wanted to become a good ambassador. And I thought that was just so sweet. She is a self-professed happiness cultivator, philanthropist, inspirational lifestyle blogger. She believes in love, kindness, and empathy. And having those three things as her foundation, she attempts to influence her friends, family, and followers to live mindfully and kindly. She is a card-carrying member of the GGC, which is the Good Girl Club, and the Good Girls Fitness. She volunteers with Blessigns in a Backpack, the Junior League of Louisville, the Younger Women's Club. She's also a Kentucky Derby Marathon ambassador and an ambassador of the inspiring Good Radio Network now, and she's a glitter thrower in the Good Girls movement. Welcome, Bella. It's so nice to have you.
Hello. I know, it's a huge mouthful, isn't it? I should probably shorten my bio down a little bit.
No, I love it. I think that's great. A happiness cultivator. That's wonderful. Really.
I truly try. I know that sounds so corny saying it out loud to people or, because it's in my bio, but I would never walk up to somebody and be like, hello, my name's Bella, and I'm a happiness cultivator.
Well, then you should just throw glitter at them at that point.
Yeah, throw glitter then.
That would be such a good idea. I would probably make so many people angry at me if I just shook their hand and threw glitter, but I could try. But no, I believe that whatever we put out into the universe, that it returns to us, and I've been trying to hold steady to that for at least the last 3 years of my life. And in that time, I've gone through a lot of different changes, but in the same breath, I'm extremely happy now where I am in life. So, for what it's worth, through anything good or bad, it's just finding the happiness in that situation.
That's beautiful. I have a son who, if you give him a card with glitter on it, hands it to his wife. It says, here, you open it.
I love when you open a card and the glitter falls out. I start to giggle. I think it's hilarious.
I love it.
Even if you do have to clean it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I got married in December, and so much of everything, like my bridesmaids cards and everything had glitter all over it. And, my husband was like, we'll never get rid of it. And so there's glitter just everywhere in my house. And I think it's going to be there for the rest of my life, which kind of makes me happy. So.
And I love you say you're a non-lover of negativity, bitter attitudes, dream-killing mentality, naysayers, video games, mean people, vindictive acts, getting in the ocean heights, spiders, and violence. I love it. I love it. You're so cute.
I'm growing the real ones here and there, but yeah, no. I try to like everything, even if I hate it. My husband loves swimming in the ocean, so I'll get in with him. But it's just, it's not one of my favorites.
So you are about fitness and health, right? Good Girl Fitness.
Yeah.
What's the Good Girl Fitness? Tell us about that.
So Good Girl Fitness started a couple of years. Well, it was about a year and a half ago. A girlfriend and I, Allison, we kind of got coined with this term, and so we kind of took it and ran. Good Girls, we have a challenge group right now online. It's in our Facebook. It's like in a private page. But so, a lot of people are used to these 21-day fit things and all of this, and it kind of came from that aspect. However, nobody's forced to do, the 21-day body fix, or, if you want to do yoga or you want to train for a marathon or whatever it is that you want to do, we challenge you to do that. But then we also have you write what you did to be mindful and what you did for your heart and soul that day.
Wow. So we can marry you with Susan and the Daniel Fast in the 21 days.
It's actually a really great combination if Susan would have me.
Absolutely. Anybody who's the ambassador of good is part of my team.
What
is the Good Girl Club? Why are you called the Good Girl Club?
Oh gosh, that's gonna. So a girlfriend and I, the single Allison I was telling you about, were coined that by a guy in my city that was kind of poking fun, and he was like, you always have a smile on your face, and you'll always look so cute, so you're like these little good girls, and it kind of felt like he was making fun of me, so I kind of took it and just ran with it. I was like, thanks for calling me that, and I'm gonna make fun of myself for you, and then you can't do it to me. So
Well, and I want to thank you for giving like good girls a boost, because I've always been called a good girl. You know, even in high school, you know, oh, she's a good girl. She's a good girl. Oh, she's one of the good girls. You're not one of those girls that do that. You're a good girl. And, you know, it's like, so
I know.
we grow up being ashamed that we make good choices. And I know I have. I don't want to speak for every woman, but I think a lot of us that have chosen to really take the higher path, to follow our heart, to not hurt others, leave the world a better place, we just get made fun of.
Yeah, I agree. I was a good girl too.
We do, and that's what it kind of made me mad. I'm like, you don't know my struggles just because I don't post them online. I mean, I do. So I have Crohn's colitis, and I'll post it sometimes, and sometimes it really gets people mad that I'm posting my stuff or whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, I think that it's just funny that, like, you know, because I put myself out there, but I only make it. You know, I'll share the sad stuff, but nobody really wants to see that a lot, and so it's just. I'm sharing the goodness because that's what I want back, and it's been turned into this negative thing. But, I mean, again, I kind of took it, and I'm not letting him make it my life negative. So
yeah, well, and I like when you post something like that, like as your friend, I'm going to follow you on Facebook because I think you're delightful. This is Sandra. But I like to be able to get up in the morning. Like one of my morning procedures is to post, to go and find 10 people to post and uplift. And you know what? I feel great for the rest of my day. So if you post that you're not feeling well today, it helps me to support you, because in supporting you, I feel good, and it helps me support myself. Like people don't get it. It's like for me to say, hey, I hope Frankie, you have a great day, or you look beautiful in that picture, or, you know, gosh, I'm so sorry, Bella, that you don't feel well today. I'm sending you some love and energy. That uplifts us all.
Yep, absolutely. Sandra's my weight loss buddy, too.
Our weight gain buddy, more like. Yeah,
weight gain buddy. I forgot to mention that Bella owns a social media and PR company called Bella Vita Media. What are your clients like? Who do you like to work with?
You know, I have quite a variety, but a lot of them that I'm gravitating towards these days are a lot of nonprofit companies. So I work with Blessigns in a Backpack, but the biggest one that I work with in my city is Unbridled Eve, and it's an event that's the night before Derby, and it benefits, the primary beneficiary is Blessings in a Backpack, and that's actually who I had my wedding gift donated to, because I think it's a fantastic cause. But I am now working with actually Blessings in a Backpack, as fate would have it, and then just small different pop-up companies.
Tell us who they are. What is Blessings in a Backpack? What do they do?
Blessings in a Backpack is a nonprofit organization that was started in Louisville. They fill children's backpacks every Friday that the children are on a lower income family. And they go into, the schools on Friday and then fill their backpacks. So they have food all weekend. And through statistics and through research, they have found that the children that receive that actually do better in school because their bodies are filled and their mind can focus on their studies rather than what they're going to eat.
I love that. I heard a story just before coming on air that there was a bride. She got jilted right at the altar. And, of course, the hall and everything had been paid for. So instead of crying the blues, she called up a bunch of women's shelters and had everybody come down for a big party. And she had hairstylists and everybody came and dressed these women. And they just had this great, big, amazing party. Isn't that nice?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I love that.
I can't imagine what that would be like for her.
Heartbreaking.
But, yeah. Absolutely, I'm sure.
But she turned it into a positive.
I love that. I mean, obviously, I gravitate towards that, so I think that's amazing.
And you're a fashion maven. You like Sarah Jessica Parker, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, Jennifer Aniston, all classics.
Yes, if they could all be one person, then I would be her.
You would be her.
Because, everybody wants to feel like, kind of the, super glam at moments, but then in everyday life, I feel like I'm mildly either, look like I'm completely thrown together with like an inspirational T-shirt on and a vest and a huge smile, or I'm just actually took the time to do my makeup and hair that day.
Well, I have to tell everybody, because I can't see you, it is radio, you're absolutely stunning. So inside and outside, she's lovely.
That's so sweet of you to say that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's so true. What would you like to do if you could with Susan's organization? Or with Susan?
I would actually like to do the challenge myself and then help spread that through women. I live in the South, so it's kind of like we live in the Bible Belt, or, there's a lot of Christians here. But, I think that as we were kind of talking off the air a little bit ago, I think that sometimes there's not a lot of young progressive Christians that talk, if that makes sense.
Right.
Where people are actually just going to talk about everything that's happening and instead just like, okay, that's wrong and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I think that it would be really nice to take these sort of things and then bring each other together in positive ways rather than challenging people to not think that way. I think it would just be like, let's do this too. And then maybe that might influence their decision making on accepting or welcoming things or looking at things differently as a challenge that they're willing to talk about and work on together.
I definitely think that people, young people, women like yourself, can lead by example. Be Jesus in women's clothing and lead by example and just show the love. Just show the love everywhere because it really was what he's all about. And it's not often expressed in that way. So I think that would be awesome for you. I told you that I lived in Louisville, and I went there. I was about 14 years old when I moved there, and I started high school. It was a very different experience because I'd come from Canada. It was the first year of desegregation, and so they were busing in black, poor black children into one of the most affluent areas in schools, high schools, as you know, in the city. And I think we had about 3,000 kids in that school. It was such a culture shock for me. It was very, very strange. So it'd be, that you have this Blessings in a backpack that thinks about these young people, that they're not going to have food over a weekend and fill that up. I just think that's amazing.
They really are. Everybody that I've ever met that works at the organization is truly wonderful. And every, corporate company that sponsors the events, and they learn about it. And who doesn't want to help kids? All of us look at food sometimes as such a passive thing. Like, it's like, oh, what are we going to eat tonight? And then it's like this, talk or, I don't want to eat what I have. But then, there's children that are not eating. And that's a topic that I think anybody should want to talk about and how to fix it.
You said that you were an Army brat, and Sandra does a show on the Army. Tell them we're going to go to break in just a second, but tell them the name of your show, Sandra.
It's Military Mom Talk Radio, and we support military families because they have a lot different challenges than, your non-military family. A lot of challenges, especially for the kids like you who didn't sign up to serve, but you go along for the ride.
Oh, yeah, no, my parents were Army brats, so that's why I don't have the access. But no, they actually both met at Fort Knox, which is in Kentucky. It's not too far from where I live. But, if it wasn't for World War II, I would not exist. So I'm a weird variety from everything World War II, from my grandfather's going there and marrying the women and bringing them back.
Okay, we're off here. We're going to break. We'll be right back.
You're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Do you ever wonder if you're the only woman who runs errands in her yoga pants so it will look like she went to the gym? Or how about the only mom who feeds her kids raw cookie dough? Or are you the only one who cooks her family cold cereal for dinner? Do you need more laughter and less loudness? More self-love and less self-loathing? More joy and less judgment? You're not alone. Come to the living room, a place where we get comfy, candid, and confident together. Come seeking sanctuary and leave feeling renewed. We're saving a seat for you. Give yourself some living room today.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
One notable arch enemy is belly fat. There are two types of fat found around your midsection: subcutaneous fat and visceral fat. Subcutaneous fat appears underneath the layers of your skin. Visceral fat is a dangerous fat that's around your organs. According to the Mayo Clinic, visceral fat settles around the vital organs in the abdomen and increases the risk for heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and premature death. While a small amount of belly fat is not unhealthy, an excessive amount can increase your risk for health problems. Adding extra cardio to your exercise routine and cleaning up your diet can help you diminish belly fat. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. keeping you healthy, happy, and fit at AnnetteHammond.com.
And we're back. You know what I think is really cool? We've got 4 women on this show, and we're all writers.
Yay.
Oh, wow.
Yay.
Or all writers. How cool is that? Let's talk about that for a moment, because, Susan, you've been a writer before you did the Daniel Fast. You said you were writing for Christian publications, I think, and doing all kinds of... How did you get started writing?
Well, it was really interesting. My background is actually, and my education is in graphics.
Okay.
But I was working for an organization, and the person that did the copywriting for this organization was overseas. It was during the Cambodian crisis.
Okay.
And, when that terrible time. And so he was overseas, and there were some deadlines that came up that he was supposed to do, and he was gone. And this was before all of the technology that we have today, where it could just be whipped out. And so they asked me to write, and what I ended up writing was so good, and our audience responded to it so well that they just kept me on as a writer. And then I was hired by an advertising agency and just continued to grow in my craft, and and just kept writing. And then I started doing books, and it's just one of those things. Again, like we talked earlier on, you start in a process, you keep working at it, learning more, getting better, and pretty soon you become pretty proficient.
We have a lot of authors on this show, and so there's a lot of people who want to write, who have a book inside them. I'm sure there's so many people who have books inside them and are just a little bit afraid to start the process, or to think that maybe they're not good enough, or, don't know what they want to write about. But it's a wonderful feeling to accomplish a book.
And can I add something?
Yeah, I want you to.
Joel Fotinos, who's the president of Penguin Tarcher, I know him from work, and he said the best line ever. He says, "Don't worry about writing, but write it down, because you can't fix what isn't written down."
Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Yeah, that's really good. Can't fix what isn't written down. I've always been a writer, and I know, Sandra, you and I both kind of came out of journalism school.
We did. And actually, my first book wasn't because I went to journalism school. It was because I was bored as a stump at work, and I wasn't challenged. And I needed something to do to kill the time. And since I was sitting at a computer and I couldn't leave, I'm like, well, my work's done. I guess I'll write a book.
Oh, that's hilarious. What was the title of that book?
It was a book for that I ghost wrote called Phantom Lover, and it was for a big publishing house based in Toronto, near you, Frankie.
Oh, isn't that interesting? And Bella, you've got a great looking blog. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you so much.
What's her blog?
Journalism as well. It's more. I've actually started
Bella in Louisville.
Bella of Louisville. So it kind of came from coins. So we have a steamboat in Louisville called Belle of Louisville, and my stepdaughter, had seen it, and she was like, "Well, they have the Belle, but we have Bella," and so it just kind of became that way.
I like that. Yeah, I remember being on the Belle of Louisville. I was on that boat.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a steamboat. It's a steamboat, an old-fashioned steamboat that goes down the Ohio River, and it docks downtown. And,
oh my God, you are super cute. I just went on your site. There you are in your blue dress. Is that handsome guy your husband?
Yes, that handsome guy. I hope it's my husband.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes. No, we just got married in December, so it's still fun to hear the word husband, and whenever he says that's my wife, I'm like, oh, I am. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations, and good luck on your marriage, and may you have a long life and happy, healthy, prosperous life.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Do you want to write a book?
I actually do. I am in a writer's workshop here in Louisville. It's an author, Angela Burton, and it's called Feet to the Fire, and she just kind of fans the flames of us writing. She'll give us a lot of open topics, and then we always write about them and bring them back in. And I would love to do a memoir of some sort. I don't feel like I'm at that point yet in my life where it's going to help anyone yet, but hopefully one day.
Are you working on another book, Susan?
Well, I just finished this one that the Daniel Fast for Weight Loss, but I've actually got a few stirring inside of me, and just this last week, I thought, okay, it's time to write again. And there's so many things that we can write about. That's what's so exciting. One of the things, a little tip that like you say, you've got lots of authors or wannabe authors,
right?
Is whenever I get an idea, I write it down. I use note cards, and I write it down to make sure to capture it, because we all know we'll have a great idea, and then a week later we'll say, wait, what was that? I know I had a great idea, we just can't remember it. And so I capture my ideas on note cards, and then when I'm ready to actually start on a project, I'm able to go through those note cards and sort them and find good lines that I'd like to use, or it might be whether it's a chapter or a concept that I want to put into the book. And so yeah, I've got some cooking inside of me, but nothing has yet come to the surface for a definite start on it yet.
That's awesome. Have you ever felt like your book was downloaded, like just totally channeled by God?
Without a doubt. And isn't that just such an amazing experience?
It is.
I'm sure it is. It's and that, I think, one of the things that as a writer, it's such a cathartic, creative, energizing experience. It is a very spiritual experience, and you kind of get into a whole different zone. And I love when I'm able to write that way. Now, there's a lot of times when it's like, okay, I'm getting this blog post out, or I'm doing this, and that experience isn't always there, but oftentimes it is, and it's just great. I feel very, very blessed that I'm able to do this and make a living at doing it. It's what this is my full-time work, and it's a great way to be.
I know parts of my book, Midlife Mojo, was downloaded, and sometimes when I go back and I read it, I'm thinking, wow, that is like so fantastic. There's no way I could have written that.
That's so good.
It's so good. How did I ever think of that? Oh, it's hilarious. So what about you, Sandra? Have you ever felt like it's been downloaded?
No, because my stuff was so pornographic in the beginning, and then it was all business books. So I'm going to try that, though. I did buy this like journal over the summer that I haven't written in yet, but it says Believe, and it's like aqua, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down and see if I can channel something or write something. But so far, I haven't had a big aha other than a book about spirit guides that came to me. But it's a funny romantic comedy, so maybe that's what God has in store for me.
Love should be fun.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I got a really nice journal from my kids at Christmas. It says she's quick and curious and playful and strong, and it makes me want to write in it. It's aqua, and that's my favorite color, like turquoise. So
that's so you.
Yeah, I'm just so looking forward to writing in it. I can't wait. I think that's it, Susan. Especially as you get older, you forget. Like, you have a wonderful idea and then you forget it. And my husband's a songwriter, and he's always walking around with a pad, writing lyrics, and eventually they'll all come together in a song, and it's really kind of cool. But I have to write stuff down because I am a digital girl, so I always make sure I record it, especially when I'm driving. It's kind of my meditative state. It is a trance state when we drive, and so I have to get out a recorder and record my idea because it's gone that quick.
Well, I use my paper for memory and my brain for creativity. That's the way I divide it out. I like that. I try to make sure I've got a lot of space there for that creativity.
You have to download it, so there's more time, more creative space. Yeah, yes. I like that.
All right, I'm here to vote in for the rest of us that just forget.
You don't. You are so dynamic. You have like 4 radio shows on the go. She got like 5 hours of radio today, I think. She's so dynamic, and she's a mom, and she's got young kids, and it's pretty incredible.
I love how you use the word dynamic. I was thinking like crazy, overloaded, overwhelmed, but you make it sound so good. You make my life sound so good.
It's very exciting, your life. My gosh, you pack more into a day than most people do in a year. So, oh, and she's like super tech smart, and there's a lot to this young lady here. So it's pretty.
God, I'm coming on your show every week for like just compliments.
Oh, I'll just stroke you. Yeah. That's okay. Isn't that what we're all about? Women have to help each other have a step up, and I really believe that. If there's anything that we can do in this world, it's really, hand our hand out to other women, because especially women in countries, third world countries, they want to do so much. I had a young girl write to me on Facebook saying, how can I be on the radio? I want to be on the radio. So, we got to help. We got to help out when we can and where we can, and I think it's really important. And education for women. Malala, we all know about what happened to her, and how they just believe it's such a gift to be educated. And that's something that we can all do. And Susan, you said you went to Ethiopia and you adopted a girl. Did you physically adopt her into your home, or is it a boy?
A son, yeah. Physically, he came to the United States when he was 7 years old. He's now 30, so this was a while ago. But I have international blood running through my veins. In July, I'm going to Zimbabwe to train and teach small business women who own small businesses there. Now their businesses, it's a good day when they earn $3. They are oftentimes the primary earner in their family. So I'm going there with a group of other women to help them develop their business skills. They're learning simple marketing things, and I feel it's an absolute joy that I get to do that. I'm very excited about it.
I know Thrive did a study on women. They actually went to live with them for a while to see how they actually fed a family on $1 a day, because women are so important to communities. They're the only ones that could do that, that could figure that out.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Please give everybody, let's start with you, Susan, your email or your web address.
Yes, it's daniel-fast.com. And there's a place where you can join the mailing list if you want, and just learn about the Daniel Fast and get connected with me. And once you get connected with me, I've got lots of other stuff going on. It's not just about the Daniel Fast.
Awesome. And Bella?
That's wonderful. Mine is Bella of Louisville, so it's BELLA of LOUISBILLE.com.
Well, Susan Gregory and Bella, I just want to thank you both so much for coming on the show today. And Sandra, thank you for being a wonderful co-host with me today. I just have so much fun with you.
We do have a good time.
We do have a good time. And so you should at work. Everybody should have a good time at work. Why not? Thank you all, listeners, for tuning in to Frankie Sense and More this week. I'll be back next week with another great show, of course. And I just so appreciate you guys coming and downloading these shows. So thank you again. Have a wonderful day and evening wherever you are in the world. And we will be talking to you and praying for you. Take care now.
See on the beat, Hit Rash Production.